Welcome, everyone, to episode 35 of From the Stands, the Cool Pick Show. On today's episode, we have Canada Olympic women's soccer player Diana Matheson joining us to talk about her experiences, her career through the Olympics, what it was like to be a trailblazer in the Olympics and with women's soccer so far, and so much more. Before we get Diana on the show, though, we will, of course, like to recognize and thank our sponsors of the show with Matt Creative and Matthew DeCastro, who do our pictures and our logos for the show, Jay Solti Photography for the production, and of course want to give a shout out to Hush Blankets and the Great North Apparel for their codes where you can get some discount on some great gear for you and your family. So make sure to hit up my link in my Instagram and Twitter bios for those codes, and let's get Diana on the show and start talking about some soccer and her career. All right, Diana, how are you?
I am doing well. How are you?
I am great. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on the show. How are things in your life going right now?
Oh, I think, same as you, going day by day. A lot of the days look the same. Today, at least, it's quite sunny out. So it was nice to get out for a bit of a workout today. Enjoying the sunny days and good weather while it lasts before it gets too cold around here.
Yeah, exactly. I played golf myself, I think more this year than I have in the past 5 years. So now that winter is around the corner and it's definitely starting to get colder, that I have to find a new indoor activity to start doing.
Yeah, I think we should all get like dart boards or something.
Yo, I'd be down for that virtual dartboard competition.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so good actually if it was virtual. That's even better than I was thinking.
Yeah. Hey, it works.
Yeah.
We'll plan something. We'll get it rolling. So
okay, not for money or anything though, because darts is actually one of the things I am worst at in all the world. So
no, it's just simply for bragging rights. That's it.
Okay, perfect.
So let's dive into about you and your career. So the first thing I wanted to ask you is, how did you know that soccer was such a passion for you and something that you wanted to do, knew that it was a sport you wanted to play growing up?
I think, I grew up in a family that was quite athletic. I had an older brother, a younger sister, and our parents just put us in a bunch of sports growing up. Soccer was one of the earliest, and I think it was just always my favorite. I started playing soccer when I was 5, hockey when I was in grade 3, because my big brother played, and I wanted to be like him. Then when I got a bit older, kind of 13, 14, 15 years old, kind of the age where you have to start to prioritize a bit, soccer for me was just always the priority. I just loved it that bit more. It probably helped that I was a bit better at soccer than hockey too, not gonna lie. And then, I just loved doing it. I don't think I knew at that age, certainly it could be a career. There wasn't a ton of, publicity about the national team. They weren't really on TV. Certainly there weren't any women's professional leagues that I knew of. The soccer wasn't even in the Olympics yet for women. So it was just something I loved to do. I thought I'd go to university, play soccer there, and then, grow up and wear a pantsuit and work in a bank or something. That's usually what I say. I thought really my life was going to be, but then soccer just kept opening doors and opportunities for me. And as soon as I knew opportunities like playing for Canada, being in the Olympics, playing professionally were available to me, I went towards them. I just knew I wanted to do that. And just been playing soccer ever since, really.
That's incredible. And we're definitely going to dive into your Olympic experiences because I want to chat about that. And I have some funky questions to ask you around the Olympics. But if it makes you feel any better, I am horrible with ice hockey. I would be like Bambi on skates because I can do a lap around the ice, but it takes me about 5 minutes just to do one lap because I am just like slow moving. It's brutal. So
yeah.
Talking about your university career, so you attended Princeton University where you played for them for a number of years. In your first year, you ended up winning Rookie of the Year. And then in your last year, you got Women's Athlete of the Year in 2008. What was it like for you to not only attend Princeton, but how much work and dedication kind of went into your time there to further make a name for yourself to start off?
Yeah, it was, I knew I wanted to go down to the U.S. To play in the NCAA because I wanted to, progress my soccer career, and competitively it was a bit stronger down there. And I knew a couple Canadians on the older provincial team who had gone down to Princeton. And I knew it was a good academic school. My parents weren't going to let me go down to the US unless it was a good academic school. So Princeton was a good fit for me, for sure. We lucked out my freshman year, my first year. We had a really strong team. We actually ended up making the Final Four in the NCAA, which was the first time an Ivy League team had made the Final Four in a 64-team tournament in any sport. So that was pretty cool to be a part of. To your point, it was a lot of work as well. Obviously, it's a tough academic school, so it took, a lot of organization and being proactive. If I knew I was going to be away from school for soccer, I just had to be, organized and communicate with profs and make sure I knew what I had to get done and get it done on time. And then senior year, you have to do a senior thesis. In my major, at least, economics. But that actually meant there was a lot of independent work. It counted for a couple credits, so I could actually do that wherever. So it was actually in my favor that senior year, I could pretty much, do a lot of my school from anywhere, which obviously helped being away a lot with the national team.
Yeah, definitely.
Did that answer your question? I'm not sure that answered your question.
That did.
Okay.
It's also too really interesting whenever school and sports kind of get in the mix, because you always have to have that maintenance of a certain GPA in order to play sports in school. So it's always making sure that you have that right balance. But you answered the question. No worries. Now in 2010, you got to compete in your first World Cup, followed up again in 2011. How was it for you to represent Canada at back-to-back World Cups?
Yeah, my first World Cup actually was in 2003. Way back in the day. Yeah, I first made the national team right before I turned 19. I hadn't made any of the youth national teams, but the national team coach came out to one of the training centers in Ontario, and I got invited to a camp just before I turned 19. And fortunately for me, that was the year of a World Cup. I kind of got invited to my first camp in March. There was a World Cup in September in the US. And I was just a kid. It happened so quickly. I don't even think I knew what was going on. It was a bit of a blur. We actually came fourth in 2003, which is still, unfortunately, the best we've done in a World Cup. So it was an incredible ride. And I just got exposed really quickly to some of the incredible women who have played for Canada over the years, like legends, like the Charmaine Hoopers, Andrea Neils, Savannah Bertinis. These were tough women who pioneered, before anyone was getting paid. They set the tone for us to get paid at all in tournaments. They were never on TV, but these were incredible women, and they kind of set the tone for my generation coming up next. And then it's been fortunate to be in a few World Cups since then as well.
Nice. And it's definitely, women's sports is just developing each and every day as we move forward, which is fantastic, because definitely needs to be more of it. So it's great that you were able to now set the kind of tone for the next generation of athletes now as well. And you did so more by kind of furthering your name a little bit more in 2011 when you got to compete at the Pan American Games, where you then helped Canada win gold against the defending champs Brazil. But then on top of that, this is just so impressive to me, so I want to add to this. So in the following year, you also were named to Canada's Olympic squad again, where you found yourselves playing against France for the bronze medal. And in that game, you ended up being the one to score the winning goal to secure the victory. What was it like for you during those two matches, again, making a difference in women's sport, but also knowing that you were the difference maker in those two matches?
Ooh, that was a roller coaster of a year for sure. John Herdman had come in as our new coach right before those Pan Am Games. That was our first big tournament with him. And it really gave us a lot of confidence to win that gold medal. Went to PKs, I believe. That was a dramatic one. I think Karina Levant came up with a big save at the end. And then, London 2012 was just that was a watershed moment for Canadian soccer. Going back to what we were saying, my generation of player kind of struggled for 10, 12, 15 years without getting to that point where we won something, where we kind of showed Canada the potential we thought we had. And that was the tournament where people started watching and people started caring a lot more about women's soccer, I think, aside from the diehard fans that have always been there, because of how dramatic the US semifinal was, and then how dramatic that bronze medal game was. That was just surreal for all of us because it was such a journey for 10 years, from the year before in the tournament. Like there were so many ups and downs for that group of players who was like family. It was just so special and joyous and surreal that we ended up on the podium together.
And also too, it's insane whenever in sports it goes to an overtime, or like for soccer, penalty kicks as it is in regulation or anything like that. It's really exciting. But then to have that come down to if you walk home with a bronze or not, or a gold or silver or not, that it really is a defining moment. And like that's the amount of, I guess I want to say, pressure mindset that goes into something like that is insane. And out of you can pick those two matches if you want, or another match, but what has been one of your favorite things about those teams and being on them?
Being on the Canadian team?
Yeah.
Certainly that London match, or a few matches in London, are kind of stand out as incredible moments being part of that team. But probably the best thing is, like, we've literally grown up together. A lot of, again, that generation of player. The national team was kind of our number one focus. We also played professionally, but national team was it. It's kind of shifting now where professional teams are becoming more the focus. They're paying a lot more money. They're getting more of your time. But for me, I grew up with like 15 players on that national team. And so I have, a lifelong network of friends and family from that team that are, have been a huge impact on my life and will continue to do so for sure. So that's been the luckiest thing for me. And the honor of putting on the Canada jersey is something that never gets old. And I guess, the opportunity to travel has also been right up there, because obviously we go wherever the games are. I played professionally overseas in Norway, so you get to see the world while playing soccer, which is a pretty great perk as well.
And that's definitely one of the highlights. I know for me, like, as you know, I play baseball and basketball with Special Olympics. So the highest level we've kind of gotten to go to is the national level, where we've been to like Vancouver and Nova Scotia. And before these two tournaments, like I've been to Nova Scotia once, but just to kind of see an aunt and uncle, so we didn't really get to tour around.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just really cool to have that impact and have that sense of pride when you're going to another province or another country that you've never been to, and just know that you're there representing your home country is anything. It's priceless, really.
Absolutely. Sports is such a great way to travel and see the rest of Canada as well. Like I can remember when I played for a team in Oakville and we made the national championships, like the club national championships. We got to go to St. John's, Newfoundland. And that was the first time I had been to Newfoundland. And that was like one of my favorite trips ever as a kid, because I'd never been out there. And you get to go with your friends too, right? Like it's nice to travel with family or whoever, but when you get to go as a group of friends, as a team, it's always a bit more fun too.
Yeah, the bonding.
No offense to my family.
So, Mom, Dad, if you're watching, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, we had a fan question come in. Do you have a particular routine that you do before games to get yourself ready and kind of get yourself in the zone for your match?
I don't really have any superstitions, like routine, certainly. Like if we're with the national team, you'll kind of wake up, you'll go have breakfast. Eating a lot of food is really important on game day. Like it's a 90-minute plus match, and that requires a lot of energy, so you're eating a lot. So breakfast, usually we'll have like a walk and stretch or do some mobility to get our bodies moving. And then you probably relax, and then there'll be lunch, and then you'll probably relax. There'll be a pregame meeting. Depending what time the game is, you might eat again, and then you head off to the stadium. And usually on the way to the stadium, I'll have some music on. And then once you get to the stadium, you're just getting ready. You're getting your gear on. You're rolling out. You're getting your body ready.
What's your go-to band or artist that you listen to get you ready?
It always changes, to be honest. I like something a bit more current. Like if I've heard it too many times, I get a bit sick of it. So it's always a bit in rotation.
Nice. Now let's chat about your club career. You started your club career in 2008 with Team Stroman, followed by the Washington Spirit, Seattle Reign, and currently the Utah Royals. What has it been like for you to play for 4 different clubs over 7 years?
It's been fantastic. I played in Norway, as you said, right out of university. And that was such a great experience. That was my first exposure to professional sports, professional soccer. And in Norway, the team had such pride in their club and city. Like, it very much was more of a homegrown club than maybe in North American sports. So there was like a community pride there, and the fans were diehard fans, and like every game was do or die. It was fantastic. And Norway is beautiful, and I got to travel the country too, which was a great perk. And then after 2012, Canadians became a part of the National Women's Soccer League. That's a league in the US now. So I went to the Washington Spirit for the first year of that league. And then, I was there for 5 years, I think, I guess. Seattle, I didn't get to play for, actually. I was traded to Seattle. I'd been in DC enough. I wanted to play for the coach in Seattle, but I actually ended up tearing my ACL like 3 weeks after they traded for me. And so I spent the whole year rehabbing, and I didn't get to play for them, unfortunately. And then that coach ended up going to a new franchise, Utah Royals FC, and she traded for me to come to Utah. So never played a game for Seattle, but it was an amazing city to live in. I loved it. It was a great place to rehab for a year. And then, been in Utah since, and the club has a fantastic setup down there. So I've enjoyed my experience in Utah for sure. Again, going back to the travel, it's just a great way to learn about different places and see different parts of the world. I love living in Norway. The West Coast is like a fairy tale, like the fjords and the ocean is gorgeous. Seattle is beautiful, great coffee there. Utah is incredible. Like the state parks, the national parks are amazing. And I left out DC. We weren't quite in downtown DC, so it was a bit different. Like, we lived in Maryland, but
Okay.
DC is a great city too. I wish I had lived more downtown, actually.
And it's not too far off. And I'll tell you one thing. This year I turned 30 in December, so just in a few weeks. And then I was supposed to go to Barcelona in Spain for like a solo trip, you got to celebrate your 30th, right? It's a milestone.
Yeah.
And COVID hit, so that got screwed. So now I might change my plans and go to Norway based off your recommendations. And if I need a travel buddy, I'll let you know. And yeah.
Oh, if you are going to Norway, let me know. I will give you a list of places to go for sure. It's the only problem with Norway is it's very expensive. It's very expensive.
Hey, you know what? It's anything that's expensive is worth doing at least once in your lifetime, right?
Perfect. Okay, I'll give you the list of where to go then.
Great. Now, we've touched on it a little bit with your Olympic career and being on Team Canada and representing there. But in 2016, you were named to your third Olympic team, where you and Team Canada won bronze for the second consecutive time. What was it feeling like? You've touched on being able, like what the feeling was like to be on Team Canada and represent your country. But what was it like to win your second bronze medal at the Olympics?
It was also incredible. That was, as I said, 2012 was a group that had been together 10 plus years. 2016 was a much different team. You kind of still had half the team that had been around in 2012 and half was brand new. It was their first Olympics. Some of them had seen 2012, been inspired, and they came in, and the new generation just made us better. They came in expecting to win things. They'd seen us win a medal, even though it took us like 12 years to win a medal. They now expected to win medals every time. So they had like this confidence, almost naive confidence, but they brought some swag and, ability, and they pushed us to get better, this young generation. And I think as a team, we grew over those 4 years between 2012 to 2016, and we were a much better team in 2016. 2012, we got a bit lucky. Like, we needed every bounce of the ball in that France game to win the bronze medal, and we got through with like grit and heart. 2016, we deserved at least a bronze. Like, we beat Germany, the second ranked team in the world. The first time we beat them, we beat France, we beat Australia with the red card. We just couldn't beat the Germans a second time, unfortunately. But and then we deserved to beat Brazil in that bronze medal game instead of getting outshot as we were against France. So it was a better team in 2016, and it was important to us that 2012 wasn't just a one-off. And, you know, people could say we were lucky. We wanted to be seen as a great team, and we knew we had to keep winning if that's how people were going to see us.
Yeah, and you also want to just make that statement like, hey, we're here to compete. We're the real deal, and that's showed. Now, one question I want to ask you is every Olympic athlete has a different place where they keep their medals. Some athletes have kept them with their parents. Some athletes have told me that they keep them in a sock drawer hidden away. I even had one athlete tell me that it was in like their Lululemon bag next to their dog toys. Where do you keep your Olympic medals?
They're actually in this bookshelf right beside me. I know this is a podcast, so it won't be seen, but
no, we're on YouTube. So for the
great.
Viewers,
okay, hold on. I'm just gonna take it out for 1 second. They're in this bookshelf here. Actually, I'll show you. And they each came. We didn't get cases for them off the bat, so like you get the medal, and then like 2-3 days later, they give you a case for it. So they both live in their own cases. This is the London case. Nice, like leather situation. And then Rio lives in this nice wooden box. I'm sure it was all sustainably forested. So they just live in this bookshelf.
That's really cool.
Yeah. And then, so we got Rio in there.
Nice.
And London in here. London's looking a bit worse for wear. The case was getting beat up. So I stopped bringing it anywhere. So when I do, to your point, when I bring them anywhere, or when we used to pre-COVID, I would usually bring them in like a sock or something as well.
Yeah.
Keep them safe. Yeah.
Nice.
So on the bookshelf is the answer to your question.
You know what? I have to say it's really cool to see when the Olympic committees go and make the cases for them. Like so, for the London one, how it's just in that black case that opens up this way, but Rio's it like slides and it's really
unique. Rio's is funky. I like it.
Yeah, I have a kind of favorite for those funkier cases versus just like the basic ones.
Yeah. Do you know what though? There was a problem with the bronze medals from Rio.
Okay.
Something to do, I don't know, it's like recycled metals, and the metals are actually tarnishing. So my bronze medal is actually getting worse and worse, unfortunately. Fun fact.
I would be emailing someone, be like, "Hey, so do you have any?"
Oh, they did. There was like complaints after the games. They replaced a bunch of them. So this one was actually replaced, but it's tarnishing too. So they didn't actually fix the problem with whatever the problem is causing it.
That sucks. Yeah. I know, like for me, my medals are just hanging down in like my living room, like on a wall shelf kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't have anything special for mine, so.
Yeah, they're all special.
Yeah, exactly. And the biggest thing is when we go back to running or being able to attend events, it's always just being able to wear it out and showcase it is always the biggest thing as well.
Yeah, it is. It's always been very fun to be able to share them with people, kids, adults, everyone. I think, it's people don't get an opportunity to touch an Olympic medal too often. So yeah, I always did try and bring them whenever I had an appearance or a speech or anything. And hopefully, when all this pandemic passes, we can start doing that again.
Exactly. Now we had another fan question come in and asking, what is the one thing that you learned from your experience of playing at the Olympic level?
Ooh, at the Olympic level, I mean, the Olympics is very different from any other competition. Like usually, we'll go play games, we'll play World Cup is obviously our other big tournament, but that's soccer specific. You're always in a hotel. There's 4 or 5 days between every game. It's all centered on soccer. The Olympic Games is a massive beast of an event, right? Like how many sports? I don't even know. I should know that. 30 something sports.
Sure,
there's 10,000 athletes at Olympic Games for summer games. And so it's all like logistics, and there's always something like not running smoothly at an Olympics, like your bus will be 2 hours late, or, your hot water is not working at first, but the Canadian Olympic Committee is usually pretty good at ironing out those details. But it's different. You feel part of a bigger team much more than any other event. And I guess the thing we learned after our first Olympics in 2008 in Beijing was that you can't get distracted by the big event, the big show that's going on, or, the fact that Kobe Bryant's there, Messi's there, Serena Williams is there. You can't, that's great. It's a perk. You enjoy it for a few days, but then it's business. And the athletes who are there to win medals get down to business pretty quickly.
Definitely. And I don't even want to start talking about transportation issue at games, because I'll share a quick story, but
yeah.
In 2018, when my team was going out to nationals, we had a 7 a.m. flight out of Pearson to go to Nova Scotia, or to land into Halifax, and we had got a bus organized. I don't know what bus company it was, but we called and said, 4 a.m. And then they had written down 4 p.m. on their slip. But then the funniest part about it was they're like, oh, we run on military time, so we thought 4 p.m. or 4 o'clock was 4 p.m. and we're like, but military time would be 4 a.m. still. So they
doesn't make sense.
Themselves. Yeah. So anyway, so we didn't have a bus to show up, and we had 15 athletes to get to the Pearson, and we're already running late because we waited an hour for this bus, thinking it'll come, and then it didn't come. So we all had to hop into Ubers to go from Durham region all the way to Pearson, which is about a 45-minute drive. And then we made our flight with 20 minutes to spare. They were calling, we could hear our names being called. We're like, we're going. And it was insane. So,
wow, that's impressive. You made it. That sounded a bit tight.
Yeah, it was definitely tight. But yeah, there's always issues at games. And
I'm sure every athlete who's gone to one of these, multi-sport games, there's issues, because there's so many volunteers and moving pieces that things get missed, especially in the early days where they're still ironing out all the problems.
100%. As long as you get there safely and you have a place to crash, you're good.
Yeah.
That's it. So I have a couple more questions for you. In October 2018, you earned your 200th cap for Canada, having started 181 times during that stretch. First off, congratulations, because that's a tremendous accomplishment to be able to play in 200 games and start 181 of them. How much work and dedication went into you for that, to be able to make that many appearances and reach such a tremendous accomplishment?
Yeah, I mean, it's just been really my life since, 2003 when I made the team. Obviously, there's been university during that time, professional career, but for me, the Canadian team's just been what's driven me through my whole career. And that was, without question, always been my number one priority, is playing for Canada. And yeah, the 200 meant a lot to me, especially the last 4 or 5 years of my career. I've had injuries. So it took definitely a few years longer to get to that 200 mark. I think I was in the 180s for 3-4 years, because it just had some major injuries pop up. So it meant a lot to finally check that box. I mean, it doesn't really mean too much at the end of the day, but it was nice to hit that number. And I'm sure the 200 mark, I think there's only 2 of us right now, myself and Christine, but I think with the younger generation, you play more games now. We have such a talented group that hopefully you're going to see more and more people hitting that mark in a few years. Yeah, for sure. But it's really cool when you are kind of one of the first ones to make that treadstone for the next generation. And now, talking about the next generation, I like to do a segment called Words of Wisdom, or the advice section. So what kind of words of wisdom or advice would you like to give to those future athletes that want to get into soccer, compete, and eventually get to the next level? Yeah, do what you love. So if you love soccer, awesome. If you love something else, like darts, perhaps, do that. And then just practice your craft. The people who make the national team are absolutely the ones who are willing to work hard at it and put in the extra time, and not let someone telling them they're not good enough get in the way. And then on top of that, watch soccer. Pick a player you want to be like, pick your hero, watch how they play, and then go out and practice that stuff. Go out and, almost pretend you are that player and try and play with them. Because there's a cool thing about that, where you actually start to act like your hero. You'll try things that maybe you otherwise wouldn't have, different moves, different turns, shots, whatever it is. And it's a way of working on your game that way. So, if you love it, watch it, study it, work on it, and try and be the player you want to be.
And talking about that darts, we'll definitely make sure to get that tournament going and get some break going.
Yeah, I should listen to my own advice. I'll have to start watching some English dart league or dart union or whatever it is. I don't even know what it's called.
Yeah.
It seems pretty exciting. The crowds are always so into it.
Oh, I know, especially when I watched a couple matches just like flicking through TV, and I've always caught like the ending, and whenever they like score the final point, the crowd just erupts, and I was like, oh my God, there's so many people in the darts.
You know what? And if nothing else, it's really good math practice, I think, darts, because you really have to do the instant math to, subtract your score down to 0, is my understanding of darts. I think that's right. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, you start at like 501 and then you make your way down.
Yeah, so it's also good math practice.
Exactly. Now, how were you in math in school, though? That's the biggest question.
I never liked writing. I was definitely more of a numbers person than a written person. So I majored in economics at Princeton because I didn't want to write papers as much, basically.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, Diana, thank you so much for taking time to be on the show and share your knowledge and your experience of your career. And we look forward to seeing more of you on the field in the future once COVID stops.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. Look forward to seeing you in person in the near future, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't know when the next gal will be for Special Olympics, but
I know. I think they've just said it's going to be virtual this year. Obviously, it would need to be so. But yeah, hopefully next year. Hopefully next fall.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah, well, my fingers crossed.
All right, awesome. Thanks so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Thanks. Nice to see you.
Bye. All right, everyone. That was Diana Matheson, 2-time Olympic bronze medalist with Team Canada women's soccer. Thank you to Diana for being on the show today, and to everyone for tuning in. And we look forward to having you tune in to the next episode. Until then, take care.